was starting off 2024, I'm performing. I didn't know if I would do that again, because I was 35-ish when 2020 happened. And I came out of it and I was like, I'm almost 40! And as a rapper, it's like, you know, am I still a rapper? Like, are you still a rapper when you're almost 40? Is that you know, like, but I am. I went through it, I am still a rapper, and I'm gonna rap for y'all. Is that okay? Yeah.
My name is Kaz. I go by the stage name Kaz Mega, and I'm a storyteller. I tell stories through music, audio. I tell stories through spoken word poetry, and I am learning to tell stories through film. And I'm here with Who Took the Rhythm Out the Rink as, I guess I would be the director, and I'm happy to be here with y'all today. I've been doing spoken word poetry since about 2013. I've been making music since about 2003. Filmmaking I actually just started doing. I'm learning. I enjoy documenting. It's not something I ever really had ambitions to do. However, I am falling in love with this medium as there's so many creative ways to tell stories using film, and it includes music. I can include spoken word poetry. So I'm really enjoying the diversity you can have in storytelling techniques when it comes to film. So my connections with rhythm skating are not as organic as they are with Barry, who's my dad, or Livy Skates, who is, you know, a professional roller skater. For them, skate is life. For me, recording and documenting these histories are life. I've learned that my father, Barry, is one of the pioneers on the scene when it comes to Edmonton hip-hop, Edmonton hip-hop culture. He was a DJ. A lot of hip-hop originated in these spaces. So I learned that not a lot of this was documented. I was talking to a lot of guys I look up to, guys like DJ Dice, guys like Creation, and guys even, you know, who are younger, talking about their parents. And everybody had stories about the roller skate rink. Everybody had stories about Sports World. And Sports World was where there was a carpet in the middle of the dance floor of the rink, and on that carpet you could dance. So people were spinning on their heads, doing all sorts of things. It was safer to do it on a carpet. And in that setting, obviously people were feeling safe enough to try out new moves and share things. So there's a lot of dialogue going along in that space. So hip hop is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. And that would be hip hop in the context of New York. So hip hop in the context of New York, they started with hip hop, which was originally a peace treaty between gangs in the Bronx. That started in the 70s, early mid 70s. Now for Edmonton, I'm not sure exactly when we got it. A part of this documentary, a part of this docu-series is to try and track down where and when hip-hop entered into the Edmonton scene. What a lot of people don't know is that hip-hop actually wasn't that far behind New York when it got to Edmonton. It was maybe a 5-year difference, 4 or 5 years, if that. There was a connection between Jamaicans who, when they leave Jamaica, so Jamaicans tend, and I would say West Indian people as a collective, when they leave their islands, most of them come to 3 places. Those 3 places are Toronto, Canada, Jamaica, Queens, New York, in America, and London, United Kingdom. And I got lots of family in all 3 of those places. And it would be safe to say that almost every person of Caribbean descent has family in at least one of those 3 places. My parents were no different. When they came down to Edmonton, it was during a time where there was work for welding. And the welding that was being done was actually being done to build the rigs that people currently are working on and capitalizing on. So people come from all over the world to make money here in these rigs that were welded, a large part, not completely by West Indians, but a lot of Jamaicans, a lot of Trinidadians were part of welding and building what we have called the oil rigs today. With them, they brought a lot of the Jamaican culture that they had been holding on to dearly in Toronto, which had a much bigger Jamaican community. So they have whole neighborhoods and areas of the city where Jamaicans generally live, and Edmonton did not have that, especially when we're talking about the late 70s and early 80s when they were coming to Edmonton for welding. As a child, I did have the Fisher Price blue and yellow and orange roller skates that I think were the only children's roller skates out at the time. And I was also a part of the 90s movement of rollerblades, which is actually a brand. And rollerblades were so well branded that most people think rollerblades are the actual skate. But those are inline skates. Rollerblades are the brand. And they did such a good job at branding that these things have become synonymous. I, being a 90s baby, a 90s kid, totally fell for all of the marketing. It was in the cartoons. I watched Ninja Turtles, and I remember there was like Casey Jones. I'm pretty sure he had rollerblades. No one was roller skating. Everybody had rollerblades at that time. So I really made fun of my dad for roller skating. I recall laughing at him for going out to roller skate. And when I look back at that, I feel bad because I let marketing dictate a part of my culture. So I feel like this documentation is a part of reconciling that guilt that I hold for, sorry Dad, you didn't deserve to be made fun of for your quads. I know that now. And don't worry, I'll get, this is the opposite of the marketing. This is the anti-marketing. So Edmonton's anniversary, I would say, is probably 4 to 5 years from now if we're talking about Edmonton's 50th. And so many artists that I know, so many of the pioneers that I know, and there's pioneers above them that I don't know. But so many of them got their starts at the roller rink. And that's where the music was. And my dad was playing that music. He would have been someone who was looping the breaks so that people could dance. Break dancing. A lot of the pioneers who started out in hip hop had it really tough. And because I'm not a 2000s baby, I'm a 90s baby, I did get the tail end of where, you know, because racism obviously still exists today. What I will say is that it was a lot more blatant. And, you know, I was born in the 80s. Most of my memories as a kid, as a child, come from the 90s. And it was still pretty rampant. It was still pretty open. So, knowing that, and knowing that there were teenagers practicing hip hop as young, Black, Indigenous, Latino, all walks of life, but usually more marginalized, especially then when hip hop was more niche. It wasn't on the radio. You had to have special tapes to hear it. And a lot of times you were hearing a lot of the new stuff at the roller rink. This again was the DJ's connections to places like Toronto, and also my dad was going back to visit New York because he had family there. Specifically family who owned clubs. So he was learning a lot of DJ techniques in New York during the late 70s, 80s, and was bringing them back to Edmonton. A lot of the older generation had to struggle with what we now, I don't know what we call them now, but then they were called skinheads. And there was a lot of animosity towards hip hop at that time. So people would be practicing hip hop and right away get into a fight, get into altercations. And while the stories I hear usually end up with hip hoppers, you know, beating these other guys, I'm sure that there were situations where, you know, they didn't come out on top. So I think about all of that. I think about that when I'm interviewing a lot of these elders on the scene, because I know that I am treading upon trauma. So I have to tread carefully and respect that. And I do respect that. If anything, in all of these documentaries, in all this documentation, I want these pioneers to feel seen, and I want them to know that we are here and so much has grown from the seeds that were planted then. Because I don't think that we're connected enough. And by we, I mean the youth who are younger than me, the guys who taught me who are a bit older than me, and the ones who taught them, and the ones who taught them. We're not really connected. I don't think that the elder statesmen know how far hip hop has come. Specifically in Edmonton, where I feel like there's a lot of crossover between social work and hip hop. And when I mean social work, I'm not talking about people going to school, I'm talking about frontline work. People are really out here changing lives. I would even go as far to say there are people out here saving lives with hip hop. I'm one of the founders of an event called Hip Hop in the Park. We've been on rocky footing since COVID, and originally non-profit organization that we just had a barbecue. Louis McKinney Park was the first park, but we've popped up all over the city over these years, these last, what is it, 14, 15, I don't know the math exactly, but 2007 was our first year. So 17 years? So these last 17 years, we've popped up all sorts of places, had all sorts of events. We've always made sure that we brought food and fed the community whatever park we're going to be in. There's always food, and that created a relationship with a lot of the streets. You know, Hip Hop in the Park was really in the streets. When we talk about being in the streets, hip hop in the park was really in the streets. Not necessarily how the context is usually used in hip hop, but for sure, hip hop in the park was hip hop in the streets. And I say all that to say, over these years, I've been a part of the organization, and I've booked venues these last 17 years for hip hop, which is not easy. It's definitely been something that I had to learn, and it's been something that I've gotten good at over the years. Good at in most cases. This odd case of roller skating. I met Livy 2 summers ago and thought, okay, I'll just set up some events, rent some skates, buy some skates, invest in some skates. We invested in some skates with hip hop in the park. So we have a very small fleet, and we'll book some events. Shouldn't be too hard. Boy, was I wrong. Booking events has been such a struggle, and I don't understand why. And I say I don't understand why, but it does feel like it has to do with marginalization and marginalized people. It does feel connected to that. In a lot of the interviews that I've been conducting, you will also hear that people feel this way and share this sentiment. And I want people who are not a part of a marginalized group to do more listening. These are people's realities. As the director and editor, I could leave these things out, but I think they're important. I think it's important for us to speak these truths as they are our truths, and also hear ourselves speak these truths so that we can think of ways to work around these barriers that shouldn't really exist. Some of the excuses I've gotten, I shouldn't call it excuses. Some of the reasons that I've gotten for venues not being able to host roller skating. So by far, the main barriers that I have with booking any venues always has to do with the floors. And it's usually connected to either the board not wanting to ruin the floors, depreciating the value, and or it's connected to insurance. Then there's myself, who is aging. I don't know if you can see these gray hairs, but they're there. I'm getting older. I've historically been a basketball player. I love basketball. Ball is life. We've spent the last 2 summers as Hip Hop in the Park painting basketball courts and running a program called Heart in the Paint, which involves mentoring the neighborhood youth and dug-in community. And I've been recognizing that as I age, basketball is not as safe of a sport for me. It's very much a contact sport, despite what people might think, you know, football and hockey. No, basketball is a lot of contact, especially when you're playing at higher levels. So my body is not able to withstand as much impact as it once was. I've been playing with guys who work way harder than I do in the gym. And I need something with less impact. Something that builds core strength. Over COVID, it was my first time not having core strength. As a kid, I always had a 6-pack. I've never known what it was like to not have core strength. And COVID, I was sitting, I wasn't doing a lot of exercise. Came back after COVID to play basketball, get in shape, and I just had no core strength whatsoever. And I really got hit with reality as far as how bodies work and how they age. Before that, I hadn't really had to confront that. So I started looking for alternative ways of staying in shape that weren't as impacting on my body. You know, I don't want to say dangerous, but you know, when you get old and your bones are starting, I stopped drinking milk, my bones started getting more frail. I should have known. I didn't connect the two at the time, but I stopped drinking milk and just started jamming my fingers like crazy. And all of that came to a head when I broke both of my wrists at the same time, landing upside down, playing basketball. The irony of that is I'd already started roller skating, and I had this feeling that I should get some wrist guards for roller skating. So I was like, I'm gonna hurt my wrist roller skating. I had this weird feeling, and it was because I had been jamming my fingers. There was a lot going on with my hands. It was my hands at that time. So I kind of just felt more vulnerable. And missing an Edmonton summer, I will tell you what, we only get like 3 months, right? So I haven't had a summer since 2022, essentially. So this summer, I'm looking to book some events. We can skate outdoor. There are some spaces to skate outdoors. A lot of them are not in neighborhoods that really need these smooth cement, polished cement areas outdoors. So there are some spaces in Edmonton that do have the smooth cement going on in their rink. I haven't found anything downtown yet. They usually got weeds coming out of the cracks, all sorts of things on the pavement. It's not safe to roller skate on most of the time. But you go to some of these nicer neighborhoods, and they got the nice rinks in the community league, and it's like butter. So all that to say, we're not as limited as a roller skate community to be skating outside in the summertime. In the wintertime, super limited. This summer, I want to book a space. And the reason I want to book a space still is because you can't really play music outside at a community league. So again, Edmonton was not that far behind even most places in the world. You know, I'm sure places like LA also had these people traveling, this diaspora of hip-hoppers who were traveling back and forth and exchanging culture. But Edmonton was right in there, and I think that that's very important to take note of. It's a very important part of this documentation as well. We're not just documenting roller skating, we're documenting a whole culture that reaches well into every aspect of people's lives today. We're talking about hip-hop. And that's graffiti, which people call street art. That's breakdancing, which, you know, has all sorts of names these days. You see it on competitions. So You Think You Can Dance, all of these things. And it's really just seeped into every aspect of our lives. We now accept hip-hop. It wasn't always like that.
Yeah. Papa always told me that ball was life, and he called it right. My mama always told me shoot for college life, and we balled for life. For some reason, I was always good at pickup, something I could afford. That last name on the jersey should be switched up, cause is that last name even yours? Dog, I promise on my honesty ain't got me Nostradamus. If all you want is to see into the future, the problem is with these aerial maneuvers. They always got us with these aerial maneuvers. Dog, I promise on my honesty ain't got me Nostradamus. If all you want is to see into the future, the problem is with these aerial maneuvers. They always got us using aerial maneuvers. As the Lord of the flies, mighty fire conscious, I'm not a higher conscious, just a fire consciousness. Time to profits with golden hair, type of dragons, as they idolize consciousness. Light a fire process, apocalyptic praxis. It seems to be a process here, pumping forth people full of toxins, holding cares hostage. The Pocahontas moccasins, mocking them, and Pocahontas moccasins. Appropriate that, run for the congressmen, appropriate blacks who run from the cops and then getting shot at and lock them in oxygen, getting knocked from into a box again. Animals, look what happens when we box them in. Governments making products out of common men. Shocking man with span, shoot a condom with. Now I'm too short to box with them, and that's the problem with us. Promise on my promises, they got me honest with opposite. All you want is to see into the future. The problem is with these aerial maneuvers, they always got us using aerial maneuvers. I know my promise on my honesty, got me honest with opposite. All you want is to see into the future. These aerial maneuvers, they always got us. Past tense when we talk about the past tense, never present when we talk about